Remember that Hewlett-Packard and Apple and all those guys did this thing where they all started in the garage? Well, Wally Lowe's still in the garage. We went to his offices in Vero the first time, and he seriously had a long commercial garage. And you actually walk in through Wally's office, and you can't get to anybody else in the company until you meet Wally. That's a really good system. Florida State Finance, Nova MBA, and he was one of the early pioneers in the gift card area. And he's parlayed that now into CrossCore, and they are the technology leader, undisputed technology leader around the globe in systems for gift cards. Wally Lowe.
Okay, thank you, Arthur. A little bit about the company, the technology. We all carry around cards in our wallets, and our part of that food chain is the global niche, but it's still a niche. And as Arthur referred to, it's gift cards, membership, and loyalty cards. Financial cards is a different arena that we don't compete in. Those are the big global consortiums that control that market. However, there's some interesting things that we do that for the time being I think are vectoring that way. But if you've ever bought a gift card, you know a little bit about the product. They're very popular. It's the most popular product that's sold in the United States. 3 billion of them last year, just an average of 10 cards per person walking around the United States. So it's sort of a below the radar market because there's a lot of customization that goes along with it, which allows a company like ours, a small or medium-sized company, to really get in there and penetrate because it's very engineering intensive. We've taken the older technologies that existed in 2000, which could produce products at 3,000 an hour, and do it now at 30,000 an hour. And I was part of a small group of people that developed that first industry accepted platform. But it was all generation 1 equipment. So what we're doing now is better, it's faster, and to Coletta's point, the efficiency of eliminating human error. That's the hallmark of truly efficient manufacturing. And as these markets mature, those are the opportunities where specialization really present themselves. So we took it upon ourselves in 2010 to start all over again, mainly because we were passionate about what we did, and we really didn't know what we were doing in terms of a business plan. We just knew that we needed to get to the next level in overall technology, and if we could do that, good things would happen. So it was just as much of a focus on just what we like doing. We were able to generate recurring revenue through some consumables and service and supply products that we had, so it kept us going. In 2012, we finally got to a point where we thought we had a product we could sell, we were happy with. And fortunately, we hadn't been under pressure to do that at that point in time, but then myself and 6 staffers, we took the product to Paris, and immediately, we got some good feedback and a large amount of booked orders. And that's when my problems really started occurring, because we had to go from an engineering mode to an execution mode. So it's one thing to play around and tinker with your products and refine them and make it better and better and better. And having a couple of key strategic beta accounts kept us going on that level. But then we had to get to the next level, and that brought me to a point where I had 17 staff people having to figure out how to manufacture production line, very large industrial level, industrial grade printing machinery. So there was a learning curve there, just to getting to the nuts and bolts in place, the wires, the frames, and all the metal and hardware that goes along with it. So what should have been the most exciting time was the most stressful time for me, because then we had everything else going on that we were doing prior to that, plus now I had customers and commitments and 17 employees to make sure I could meet the payroll. So that's when life gets interesting for the business owners. But as I mentioned, the core and focus is passion and quality and focus. And it's a global market, but it's also a niche market, so we're excited about it with just a couple of global competitors that are large multinationals. I feel very confident that what we're doing now is going to set the standard, and we have proven that with some very large orders that we've secured already this year. So that's a little bit about the value proposition. The greatest challenge for me in taking this company to market was twofold. Of course, you know, you're dealing with equipment that ranges in price from $500,000 to $1.2 million, so you've got longer sales cycle. You've got companies in Japan, Chicago, Boston, Bangkok, long sales cycles and lots of qualifications, lots of technical meetings, lots of speccing and designing and custom engineering around particular applications. So it is it's a complex product in application market, therefore, you know, you've got to be in it for the long haul, and I think that's probably the thing that's been the biggest challenge, but you know, when you get to that level, then you do need money. It's not a matter about having a good product, you got to get that product to market, and it does require funding in the form of inventory, having it on the shelf ready to go, and those are all the kind of things that sort of got me, you know, jerked up in my seat last year, because all these things were trending towards each other, and I didn't know how I was going to execute. Primary needs for investment capital, we were already halfway, we were like a mid-stage company at that point in time, so, you know, the obvious requirements were inventory, working capital, marketing. Our business is done through a lot of trade show work, and it's done in Paris, it's done in Chicago, it's done in Hong Kong, so there's a lot of expense and investment related to those factors. So my initial focus, and all I asked for in my initial ask was $1 million, and that was to focus on those two key components. Now our market, I'd be thrilled to get $30 million to that growth level from where we're at now, about 4.5 trending. We see significant and fast growth for the next few years. But as I mentioned, it's vectoring towards this financial institution market, because just like anything else, the demand to decrease costs is always going to be there. So with financial cards, which are very high volume, high profit markets, our ability to control products at much higher speeds and image them, I think is going to bode well. Although for the time being, I'm leaving those markets alone until I get the company stronger from an engineering standpoint to where we could truly execute when that time is right. We have another $600,000 coming in August. We just closed on $1 million last week, so hallelujah. That got me into position to really execute the business plan for the rest of this year. This capital came from a private equity group. We were too small and too much of a flyer in terms of, you know, crazy technology and software and all the other things that are involved in this application to appeal to a venture capitalist in the strict sense. This is a nice one though, because you know, this is a billionaire investor that believes in what we're doing, so I know when I need to go back and get some more, if I can improve the value proposition, I got a good chance of being able to secure more funding. So I'm a big believer in keeping it simple, and now that we've got this type of partner on board, I can get back to doing what I like to do in the invention and the creative side and the marketing side of what we do. What type of formal relationship? This is fascinating because this individual and his investor partner, they went to incredible lengths to learn about who we are, who I am, what our market is. They did due diligence to the extent that they reached out and interviewed industry insiders who were involved in market analysis. They reached out to key industry leaders who are producers, and in fact visited several factories up north to learn more about the process in the market. And so I was very pleased that they took the time to learn about the market, although I don't believe that it's their plan to be involved on the day-to-day operations, but they were very conscientious about before they were going to invest. They wanted to know exactly what the market looked like, and what we did, and where we were positioned with our competition. So that's encouraging. Beyond that, these were seasoned former New York venture capitalists who were moving hundreds of millions of dollars. Now they're doing this because I think once you get it in your blood, you can't stop doing it. So I'm very appreciative that they've taken the time to learn about CrossCore. And so that being said, I would call it a very formal relationship. They are now members of our LLC. They have 2 seats on our board, and they will be actively participating in regular board meetings. And they truly want to see the company succeed. So there's an element of philanthropic effort there, I believe, on their part, which I'm also very grateful. In terms of that support question, these are guys that are seasoned financial people. I'm not. I do have an MBA. I know accounting and all that stuff, but I hate it. I don't want to do it. I don't like looking at spreadsheets and balance sheets and all that stuff. I'm learning to discipline myself to get more tuned into that, so it's part of my regular routine on a weekly basis. And those are the kind of things that to get to the next level we all have to do. And so it's actually turning out to be more of one of those things I was afraid of doing or didn't want to do, but I'm embracing it now because I can see that even if you got the best product in the world, you got the best team in the world, you still have to have the fundamentals of the good business plan in place, which is, forecasting, budgeting, know where you're going, what is the plan for the next year, how are you going to get there. I owe a lot of that to my friend Arthur over here, who I met last summer, and he got me into the business plan competition. And that, prior to that, was months and months and months of writing the business plan. You have to, that was the worst experience of my life, sitting down drafting that, and now it's a 30-page document, but that's our roadmap, and I'm very, very grateful that Arthur drove me to do that, and because it forced me to think about things I didn't normally think about, of course, because it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day grind and the day-to-day business activities, the distractions we call them. So it'll get you sitting down thinking, okay, hey, we really can get here if we do this, and we can get there if we do that. It really puts the pieces in place for you to start getting, a straight line rather than sort of bouncing around like a pinball. And that is how I located my equity investor. It was at the business plan competition a couple months ago. They contacted me a couple of weeks afterwards, and that began the interview process, and I guess it was several months ago now. So because the whole process took probably 3 or 4 months.
3 months.
Yeah, for us to get from that table to the next table. And
it's not a bad amount of time though. 90 days? That's pretty good.
so that's it for me. Just be patient, stick to your guns.
Questions, comments?